Hello guys. Just wanted to talk to you all today a little bit about hip openers and how we can measure a healthy hip opener and things to look out for. So if you've ever taken my foundations class, I do this thing where we'll go into pigeon pose, and then I usually spend about the entire time that we're in pigeon talking about why we should never do hip openers. And that's not really what I mean. I don't mean that we shouldn't do hip openers. Obviously, we have pigeon in foundations and we do them elsewhere in the practice. And lots of people, because of chairs and sedentary culture and all that, they really need hip openers. But what we want to be aware of and what we're trying to keep track of is how people approach hip openers emotionally, and a message that I don't think is out in the yoga world enough, which is that it's very, very possible for you to get too flexible. Hypermobility is a real thing, and you can destabilize your joints, and this can become fairly problematic, especially when it comes to the hip joints. You really need your hips to be stable because that's how you get around the world. Walking, that's where the energy transfers from your legs up to your spine. It's a very, very important part of the body. So we want to make sure that we are not destabilizing those joints. So to start off, we want to understand the science of stretching pain, essentially. So when you take your muscles to something like length, close to their length, you start to get a signal from your nervous system saying, hey, don't go much further or else we might encounter an acute or traumatic injury. And that signal is stretching pain. Now, in the yoga world, we often have to reframe the way that we think about stretching pain and the way that we interpret that pain, because we've got a lot of stretching to do to return the body to sort of its mobile, healthy position. People tend to walk into a yoga studio pretty tight, and they've got a lot of stretching ahead of them. And we don't want them to suffer their way through all of the stretching, and we don't want the pain of stretching to make them stop practicing. So we often tell students that there's a different way that they can think about that sensation, and that reframing can be really helpful for an amount of time. But what we want to keep track of is that your body doesn't have another way of telling you that the muscle's getting too long. So if you start to get so loose in any particular muscle group that you're going to destabilize your joints, there's no other pain. There's no other pain signal to tell you, hey, this is too far. We have pain signals for, hey, you've gone too far all at once and now we have an acute injury, like a tear. But we don't have a signal in the system that says the muscle is getting longer to the degree that the joint might be destabilized. There's no other thing. All there is stretching pain. So if our only relationship to stretching pain is this idea that it's positive, we'll keep on returning to certain stretches like hip openers. Hamstring stretches often have this issue as well. What we see in yoga classes is that very bendy students will come in and they'll get into a pigeon that is a super mobile pigeon. They'll lie flat on top of their shin, and then we'll say, hey, maybe balance away from that a little bit. Maybe start to lift that back up. And the response can sometimes be, well, but I feel a really nice stretch in my hip. And what's happened is that person is now interpreting every stretching pain as a good pain. They've got an interpretation in their mind about that pain, which is that it's healthy or that it's releasing negative energy or whatever that interpretation is. So a nice juicy stretch in that mental framework is always good. So we need to figure out, how do we assess whether or not we've gone too far without exclusively using stretching pain or the sensation of a stretch as our guide. And this is where our intelligence comes in. We want to be able to say, okay, how open do I want my hips to be? And what do I need this hip mobility for, right? Do I need it for my running, for a healthy running stride? Do I need it to climb a mountain, to jump over a wall, right? To go up the stairs 3 at a time? What am I opening up my hips for? And then once I've gotten that, once it's far enough, I can stop. There's no need to go any further, because we want to remember it is possible to go too far. And that's not a super uncommon thing that happens. What we're learning from the last 20, 40 years of yoga practice is that lots of people who did a lot of cranking their hips open are now, in PT or need surgery to fix the issues that they've created by destabilizing those joints. So the general message here is stretching pain can give you a positive signal, but we need to combine our experience, our sensation, with our intelligence. When have I reached enough? Stretching pain isn't the signal that good things are happening. It's simply the signal that we've taken the muscle to length. I need an idea in my head. I need a reference point, an intelligence to tell me, have I gone far enough for this particular joint? And if I have, maybe it's time to start adding power and strength back into it. Cool. That's enough for today. I'm going to stop rambling. Take care, you all. Here's to a healthy practice. I'll catch you on the mat.